I think we definitely made strides defensively this week, and I think that showed. You take away whatever number of second chance points there, and they're scoring 80. And I think that's for us, that should be a winnable score defensively. So for sure we're making strides there. Offensively, I thought we at times were stagnant, and at times the ball moved really well, and we got great shots. So yeah, I think we're making strides at both ends, but we're not winning basketball games, so we need to do better.
We did say on last week's show that the battle of the winless between Southeast Melbourne and Brisbane, it was going to have ramifications, and we weren't wrong about that. This is nothing but net Aussie Hoops, presented by Amy. Kane Pitman starting to get pretty comfortable alongside the Olympian and former Dallas Maverick in Ryan Broekhoff in studio here. Olgun Uluc is going to be with us with all the latest news headlines, including a big signing in Adelaide. And we have another Olympian on deck as well. Beck Allen will be with us to discuss the rise of Alanna Smith and, unfortunately, some further injury concerns for her. But the one thing that I'm the most excited about teasing is just to my right here, I can see the touchscreen. They've wheeled it into studio. And my man, Ryan Broekhoff, is going to have his NBL MVP top 5. And the one thing we know about that is there's going to be some criticism right across Australia.
I'm ready for it. So bring it on. Let's have a discussion. There's going to be a few fan bases with some questions for me, but let's have some fun with it.
Yep, I've also already asked some questions, so we're looking forward to that. But first, let's start like we do every week with the NBL headlines across the league. And we know there's one man that we like to do that with, Olgun Uluc, ESPN.com.au, and on this show every single Thursday. Let's start with the Phoenix. We just heard from Mike Kelly. That was his last ever post-game press conference, and we know that he has parted ways with the Phoenix. They started 0-5. But now what does it look like for the rest of the season for this team?
So in the interim, it's Sam McKinnon. Sam McKinnon comes in as interim head coach. Takes over a team that I think we can all agree has some roster imbalances, bottom 3 offense, bottom 3 defense. Beyond that, who knows, right? They've told Sam McKinnon that he could be there for 2 games. It could be 10 games. It could be the rest of the season. McKinnon wants to be there for the rest of the season and beyond. But the decision makers in this franchise, Tommy Greer, Simon Mitchell, and I'm told Romy Chowdhury, the owner of the team, he'll have a significant say in who this team picks going forward as head coach. And there's really no telling which direction they'll go. They're very, very early in the process. Do they go for someone more demonstrated to take over what would be a high money, high powered roster, or do they go for an Australian, New Zealand up and coming coach? That's yet to be seen. My bet would be someone more demonstrated to take over what would be a very expensive roster going forward.
Yeah, and good luck to Sam McKinnon this weekend. You get Melbourne United right off the bat, a team that is flying at the moment. So, Ryan, I can look at it from the outside. I can watch that game against Brisbane and I say this should be a desperate team. And yet on the offensive glass, 21-8. Second chance points, 21-4. So I look at it and say, it doesn't look like this team is playing for that coach. It looks like there are deeper problems for this team. What do you look at as a former player in terms of what you diagnosed with that game and the season so far?
Yeah, it definitely was through a lack of effort. It really looked like to be beaten that badly, and they have been beaten badly throughout the season on the boards, but to give up that many offensive boards in what felt like a must-win game against another team that's struggling is really disappointing, and the players need to take some responsibility for the loss of their coach. I've been there once as a player where we fired a coach after just a month over in Europe, and I felt terrible. That's a man's job, that's a man's livelihood, and the expectation from a player is to give your energy and effort every night, and I just don't think they were doing that, especially against Brisbane.
Yeah, no question. You can look at the roster, but certainly the players have to take on some of this blame as well. All right, let's go to some great news for the NBL, Olgun, and the Adelaide 36 is a team that's been figuring it out. What's the latest with Montrezl Harrell?
Montrezl Harrell's here to stay,
Oof.
Kane. This was a deal that was largely agreed upon over the past week, and late into Wednesday evening, into the early hours of Thursday morning, this deal was finalized. It was signed. The team is deactivating, effectively waiving Alex Starling, one of their local players. Montrezl Harrell signs on for the remainder of the season. He's averaging a double-double. Now, there's an interesting detail in this, Kane, and that there are no NBA outs in this deal, which means that there is no risk of losing Montrezl Harrell in the middle of the season. This is a deal through the remainder of the NBL season, and there's an expectation, there's a consensus from both Montrezl Harrell's people and the 36ers that it will take the remainder of an NBL season for his body to be fully ready for an NBA season. right? And so they're giving it until February, March, when this season will end, for him to eventually, hopefully, get on the end of an NBA roster for the playoffs or beyond.
Yeah, sorry, I'll cut you off there. I'm a little too excited about this news because, Ryan, if you look at this for the 36ers, part of my concern has been the fact that they're always trying to work in new guys. And if they then lose Harrell, but then they bring in Jarrell Martin, it's another period of adjustment. So now just being able to buckle down and say, this is our team for the season, they can really get settled into it.
Yeah, it's great for Lee, great for the 36ers, an entertainer, someone who puts bums on seats every night of the week. And he's been able to produce without being up to, I guess, game ready physically. So I look forward to his development, and I look forward to how Adelaide fit the three bigs together. Can they play together? Is it a rotation base? These are lots of exciting questions that Adelaide get to work throughout the season with.
Yeah, and Adelaide, a building over there that has always been full, even when the teams haven't been good. So it's going to be a lot of fun watching the 36ers throughout this season. Olgun Uluc, outstanding as always. Good to see you, mate.
Thanks, man. You're way too excited to fight Rowdy on his MVP list. You're already interrupting me as well, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, apologies. Thank you, Olgun. And as we can see, Ryan, Olgun's starting to get very comfortable here, which is bad news for me. You two ganging up on me. I will be the one that is the victim here. But we have the ESPN 100 list and plenty of familiar names there from the NBL, including two Australians, Rocco Zikarsky at 24, Alex Toohey at 35, Almansa there with the Perth Wildcats, and also Malik Lewis with the South East Melbourne Phoenix. But I really want to drill down on Alex Toohey a little bit here, playing major minutes on this Kings team that's got very high expectations, and his ability to do damage in the open floor and open up this transition offense has been great to see so far.
It has, and he's an important piece of what looks to be a championship-worthy team, and his development over the off-season, and from my perspective, he seems like the player most ready to make the jump to the next level of the NBA. We've got Rocco. He's still a development player. He's still got a lot of room for growth, and his ceiling's probably the highest, but the player most ready to make that jump may be Alex. And we're going to go through some tape and have a look at some of that development that we're seeing. And defensively being really active this year, he gets a block at one end. And this is what we're talking about. Last year we saw it in glimpses, but this year it's taken it to a new level. He's drilled up, gone through 5 defenders. And how about the finish? With the Euro, with the left, at 6'8", with his skill set, it's tough to stop, and with his confidence. And here he is, taking it off the rebound. Again, in transition, playing at his own speed, sees the defenders backing up. He obviously has the shot, which he's been working on, but getting deep into the paint, another Euro with his size, being able to finish over the top. And how about this? Putting Karen Galloway on an island, no help side coming, a little inside out dribble, and he's able to get on the rim, and there's not too many people who can finish like that in our league. So it's an exciting, and this is what really excites me though. Look at the preparation. His hands are ready, his feet are ready. He steps into this three, and he's been shooting the three with confidence over time. If he's able to continue to develop that three, and especially on the defensive end, continue to be active, he's what NBA teams are looking for in that 3 and D with the ability to create on top of it.
Another outstanding breakdown. Alex Toohey looking very comfortable with the Sydney Kings, and potentially another Australian getting drafted this year. Outstanding work from you. But we've got plenty more still to come on Nothing But Net Aussie Hoops, and we have got another Olympian joining us. Beck Allen is going to join us after the break. We might talk a little bit about the Throwdown. That is a big game coming up this Sunday.
To my parents, Pat and Ern, who plucked me out of an orphanage and who instilled in me a work ethic and taught me that nothing in life is a given. You have to work hard to get what you want and where you want to go. They provided unwavering support, and they kept me level-headed, grounded, grateful and humble. And to my beautiful daughter, Kelsey, who's here tonight. Kelsey, you weren't around to see me play, but you've been dragged all over the world for the last 21 years so I could chase my coaching dreams. I love you, I appreciate you, and I just thank you for being my special person. I love you more.
Welcome back into Nothing But Net Aussie Hoops, presented by Amy. What a weekend it was for Australian hoops. Michele Timms, the third Aussie into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, joining Lauren Jackson and also Lindsay Gaze. And at the desk now, and now via Zoom, we had one Olympian with Ryan Broekhoff. We decided that we'd bring in another in Beck Allen. It's always nice to see you. And unlike Ryan, you're still towing the line between playing and being a colleague of us here at ESPN, but it's always nice to see you. I want to ask you first about Michele Timms, though, because what a outstanding career, clearly, to get into the Hall of Fame, but also to be a trailblazer for many of the women we see now that are doing great things at the highest level.
Exactly right. And just hearing her speech then, it gives you goosebumps, especially for a daughter to be there to watch her give a speech like that. And she'll only know from what she's told from other people what an impact she's had on sport as a player. And for us as people who are trying to go play in the WNBA, play in Europe, she's someone that's really marked out that paveway for all of us, and that's become the new path.
It's been a fantastic career and well deserved for Timothy. But I want to transition from a former Opal to one of our current Opals, Alanna Smith. What a 12 months she's had. Let's go through the awards, shall we? The bronze medal with the Olympics, FIBA All-Star 5, WNBA Defensive All-Second Team, and now competing for a WNBA championship. How have you seen her development over the last 12 months as a teammate and as a competitor?
Yeah, it's definitely been her year. She's doing great, and it's from the jump. You know, when she came and joined Minnesota, I think that she just really embraced her role amongst that team. And maybe it's also how Cheryl Reeves told her what her role is, because she's playing really patient basketball. Not always at the place for her, but she's just been very opportunistic. The way that she's playing as an undersized big, she's a center out there, but really she's a 4, but she's using that to her advantage. The way that she can make those passes, she's looking for her stars, but she's looking for her own because she's doing everything in an aggressive way. Her skill using her length like she did around the rim, she's got this finesse, but I just love how she's constantly playing to her strengths.
Yeah, and she's played such an important role for that team. Just quickly to follow up on that, she was already playing outstanding basketball before the Olympics, but what can a big FIBA tournament like that do for your confidence? Because it seems like, again, she's gone to another level post that.
What's great is that she's just kept it rolling. She hasn't been overawed by any stage that she's been on. And I think that that's because maybe she's learned it from years before. Nothing happens within 2 months. Nothing happens within 12 months. So this is just showing all the work that she's done over the years. And so for her, I'm just glad that she's seeing it being produced on a big stage that other people can see the work that she's done, because ultimately people only see the results. No one sees the work.
Now, we understand that you're already a star talking about other players and a media operator, we should say, but just for yourself, we know that you've still got plenty left in the tank, but it has been a rough run from you from the hamstring, but also there hasn't been a lot of coverage about recent back surgery. Can you just fill us in what the last month or so has looked like for you leading to that surgery?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rough year for me for sure. I mean, the season of the WNBA, I was having back problems before going to the Olympic preparation stuff, and then I tore my hamstring. I did a 6-week rehab. I literally got back on the court, but then my back was really failing me. And so I had surgery just a month ago today. So the surgery was really successful. I'm finally not in just constant pain, but the pain just got pretty intense there towards the end. So it was just an option, just even for quality of life for me.
Yeah, not ideal. And there are going to be a lot of fans of yours that are curious about what the next few months looks like. So what is the plan? Hoping that all things go very well for you.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I've ever had an off season. So even just for that alone is really nice to be able to be around family, knowing that I'm going to have a Christmas with my family too. That's a beautiful thing. And I'm also going to be going back and forth between here and Phoenix. So they've been really looking after me. Gosh, they're a good group. I feel really lucky to be a part of an organisation like that who are really investing in their own. So I'm just going to be constantly doing little touch points with them so they can see where I'm at, but also utilise the VIS here and really do my rehab well.
Now, we've also heard rumours that you're going to be maybe jumping on some of the calls for the NBL. So let's turn our attention to the NBL. Obviously, the big news story has been Michele and the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix through the week. They've got a throwdown this weekend. How do you see this game going? Will they respond, or is this going to be maybe a beatdown instead of a throwdown with United on Sunday?
Yes, great question. And one that I hope that it's going to be a fight. I hope that it's going to be a battle. Obviously, Southeast Melbourne, it's been a really rough start, 0-5 in the win-loss column. And they are just, they need a win desperately just for the group morale. But then to also lose your coach in Michele, and you've got Sam McKinnon stepping in as the interim coach. So there's a lot of change, but does that spark a fire? That's what I'm hoping for. It's going to spark fire in the likes of Sobey or Walton Jr., who you saw do that pass where they haven't scraped the surface of the players that they can be. So the issue for that, though, is that United are playing great basketball. They're playing at such a good quality and clip and pace, but it's defensively, the way that they shut down the Adelaide 36ers, especially in DJ in the last game, where he had no breathing space, no room to even get any of the shots that he loves off. I think for a team like Southeast Melbourne, who've been struggling to shoot the ball against that stifling defense, it could be an issue, but I have hope.
Well, I think the matchup is fascinating because I'm happy that it's a throwdown this week because I think this is going to be a great challenge for this team. But maybe the downside of that is that Melbourne United, that is, they are always going to be prepared for this game. So do you think it is a positive or a negative in terms of the mentality of the Phoenix that they're coming straight into a rivalry game?
I mean, the mentality, but I also hope that because both teams have had quite a few days off, so they'll be both working in the gym. I think one team have a week, and then I think it's Southeast Melbourne have 8 days. So I think it's a real time to come together. I'm just hoping for Southeast Melbourne that they're going to rise to that occasion and really, support the new coach stepping into that role, because that's hard too. But also, it's a bit of a kick in the butt that they maybe need of, hey, we're not doing good enough right now. But Southeast Melbourne have that on their side. I think United, though, they've got the confidence of just rolling with how they're playing.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's much room between the best and the worst of Melbourne United. Outstanding stuff from you, Beck. We always love to chat with you, and you're good in the media, but we want to see you back on the court. So rest up and recover.
Thank you.
All right, plenty more still to come on Nothing But Net Aussie Hoops presented by Amy. And Ryan is under pressure next. We're going to put him on the touchscreen. He's got his top 5 NBL MVP favourites, and I think people are going to be asking some questions. We'll get to that next. From week to week, predicting winners in the NBL, it's just become a joke. Last weekend, Adelaide and Sydney, they split their games. The Jack Jumpers suffered a historic loss, and Cairns from 2-0 last week to 0-2 this week. What can we expect, though? That's the highlights. Here are the top plays of round 4 presented by Hungry Jacks. The burgers are better at Hungry Jacks.
Going, no look, fine for White. Petby waiting down low. Bruce sits it up. Goal! Cameron Oliver! A beautiful assist. Harvey from outside is fouled. Tyler Harvey. He's got that look in his eye.
Rob Edwards just sees the mismatch and just says, take a nap, Hiram.
Speak quicker when he's deep in. Ooh. Great prediction time. After this from Alex Toohey.
Is that? I include Davis.
What a lob! Delvin over for White. Spectacular! Wow!
It seems fitting that we ended that highlight package with a Melbourne United lob. They were throwing them all game long, and now they will have the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, who at the moment are holding up the ladder. And what about New Zealand at the top 2-0? Fortunately, they have come back to the league from this week. Illawarra, also one of the form teams in the league, at 4-1. The contenders, they're still trying to sort themselves out. But hey, I just mentioned contenders as far as the ladder goes. How about contenders as far as MVP goes? Yes, it's only been 4 rounds, but that didn't stop us from wheeling out the touchscreen and asking Ryan Broekhoff to give us his top 5 list. Feel free to speak your way through some nerves or just get straight into it.
Yeah, well, a lot of it had to do with performance of teams, and a couple I had to take off the list pretty early. PJC, obviously, they only played the 2 games, New Zealand. Once he gets back, once New Zealand back this week, then we'll see how he fits into it. And no one from United. It was hard to pick one player. They're so even. So Jack White didn't make the list. But let's get started. Number 5, Rob Edwards. So I've really loved his start to the season. Cairns have been a little up and down, but their wins have come off Rob and his offensive performances. He's been absolutely electric in the open court. He is strong, fast. You know, he went against Melbourne United with the best backcourt duo defensively in the league, and he lit them up. And this is games with and without Taron Armstrong. So he's kind of the engine room scoring, and he's had a really good start to the season.
So here, I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. I'm just here to present different arguments and you tell me what they look like. So as far as Rob Edwards goes with Cairns, my only concern is 3 games above 35% shooting, 3 games below 35% shooting. And I think that, I know he missed last weekend, but you can make the case Taron Armstrong might be the most valuable player under Cairns tight bands. But we'll see how the season goes here. Who we got at number 4?
All right, this is the one I think that's going to cause a few ruffles of the feathers.
That's trouble. That is trouble.
I've actually got Bryce Cotton at number 4.
Okay.
Yes, I know. This is not something. This is right now, the end of the season. I'm sure he's going to be pushing his way up for just another MVP. But Perth have been off to a bit of a slow start, a bit up and down, and his performances, again, a bit up and down. He proved me wrong after I did the list because he dropped 35 points and looked like his old self. And as he does continually, he just makes you look silly. When you count him out, when you think he's lost a bit of form, he comes back and gets you. But amazing performance last weekend, and he'll be pushing up the ranks later.
Yeah, he will. Next time we do this, he'll be higher. And for goodness sake, can we get this man some help? The only other player averaging more than 12 points is Christian Doolittle, and he's not there to be a scorer. So Keanu Pinder, when you come back, we need more. And also Dylan Windler, I think, is going to be a big piece. What about number 3?
3, I've gone with DJ Vasiljevic. I think Adelaide's start has been electric. Offensively, they are juggernaut. Defensively, obviously not so good.
Yeah.
But he's the engine room. He is the scorer. They go as he goes, scoring the ball. And I loved his development, being able to put the ball on the floor, create for himself, but more importantly, get others involved. So with him and his scoring ability, and he's one of those few players that can turn a game in just a few minutes. Come down, hit back-to-back threes, turn the complete momentum of the game around that only few can.
Yeah, and when you talk about tough shot makers in the league, only Chris Golding, I think, are in that bracket with DJ. And I think he's actually been a better facilitator so far this year. He's putting the ball on the floor. All right, we've only got 2 left. We've got some stars. Where are we going?
It was hard to pick the top 2, but I've gone Xavier Cooks at number 2.
Former winner.
He's been looking great since coming back, and he's just one of those players that doesn't need things run for him. He's unique. Let's also talk about the 3-point shot that he's been hitting at a high clip and shooting with confidence. Hopefully that continues, but him in transition is unlike anyone in this league. His ability to get the ball off the rim or block a shot, take it out in transition, get on the rim, finish with authority, but also his creation, I think, is overlooked at times. He's able to get into the lane, make the right decisions, get other guys involved, and he is the key piece, especially with Adams out for the Sydney Kings.
I think he is the key piece, and there's been times when I'm watching this team and they're shooting so many threes where maybe they can even use him even more. The numbers look great. 18 points per game is a lot for him, and the free throws been knocking down them at a higher clip as well. That leaves only one name, and you've mentioned a few here, so he's given away a few spoilers. You're just going to work your way into the touchscreen. Who's number 1?
I'm going to have to go with Trey Cal.
Okay.
And the flying Illawarra Hawks. They are absolutely flying at the moment. Their offense is second to none. They're up and down. They're playing with great pace and great purpose. They share the ball well, and he's the head of the snake. He's really good at understanding when it's his time to create, when it's his time to set up, and it's when it's his time to go and get some buckets. He's great at drawing fouls. He's great at getting guys involved, and he's allowed Tyler Harvey to play his natural position as more of a scoring off guard. So been really impressed with his play, and let's just see if they can continue up offensively to begin the season.
Yeah, you mentioned Tyler Harvey, and I think the shot selection with Tyler Harvey has been excellent this year. It's either at the rim, getting in those floaters, or knocking down the threes, and I think that Trey Cal's been a big part of that. Not so much pressure on Tyler Harvey. The Hawks, early contender as well as a team?
Absolutely, yeah, they look like the real deal. So right now, best team in the competition. Let's see if it continues.
Yeah, the Illawarra Hawks, and we know the Sydney Kings are going to be up there. That rivalry is already massive in this league. So let him know what you think. I actually don't mind the 5. You can shuffle some of these names. That one is the one I'm concerned for you. Don't check the mentions, but that's the top 5. We're going to do that right throughout the season. Outstanding from you. Plenty more coming up on Nothing But Net. Aussie Hoops, though, and some of the mistakes. The oops. It can't always be the highlights, Ryan, that you used to bring on the floor. We're going to take a look at some of those coming up next. Now, we are just about set for round 5 in the NBL, but before we get there, one final look back at last week's action. And when it came to the alley-oops, we liked it. When it was just straight oops, not so much. This is Hoops and Oops, presented by Amy.
Oh, no. Doyle's gone for a slip and slide.
He saw a wet spot on the floor, bam. That was unfortunate for Doyle. See the cameraman? Look at that. Ooh. Dangers. It's tough. Neither of them's going to let go of this.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it, don't you?
Is this a place you can see yourself finishing out a season?
Yeah. Yeah, I can. I definitely can.
And also translates into pay the man and we'll get to keep him. Is that right?
I ain't know that one.
Montrezl Harrell, now official, staying in the league for the rest of the season as we look at the schedule for round 5. And there's one game that I'm looking at. I mentioned it, the Jackies, 33-point losers last week. That has never happened in their very short history, but the defending champs, they've now got the Sydney Kings at home. But a whole host of games to watch, of course, all on ESPN, your home for hoops. All right, we nearly got to the end of this show, but not without a massive congratulations for one of the greats of Australian basketball of this generation, Aron Baynes, an NBA champion, a 3-time Olympian, and it was announced earlier today that he has called time in his career, and I should just get out of the way and let you go to story time. You're a teammate of his back in 2016 in Rio. I was lucky enough to be a teammate and a roommate with Baynesy, so... What's that like? I got the small bed, that's for sure. But what an amazing career he's had. What a competitor, one of the greats to put on the Boomers jersey. And look, there's one story about how fierce of a competitor Baynes is. We're getting warmed up for a game at the Rio Olympics, and Baynes is very structured in how he wants to prepare. So small, confined, one court. He's getting his layups and hooks and stuff in, and here we are, 3-point shooters, just dropping bombs, and balls will be hitting his balls or bopping him on the top of the head, and he gave one of the scariest looks I've ever gotten in my life. But we walk off the court and he'll give you a big bear hug. He's a great family man, amazing career, and thank you very much for accepting me and helping me into the Boomers culture. Yeah, congratulations to Aron Baynes, a tremendous career, and it's a great story from you. And at the end of his career, he ended up being the 3-point shooter himself as well. Who would have thought that back in 2016? But that is going to do it for us on Nothing But Net Aussie Hoops today. Thanks to Olgun Uluc and a big thanks to Beck Allen for joining us in the studio. Plenty of great games right across the weekend in NBL. NBA not too far away as well. The only place to watch it, ESPN, your home for hoops.